Welcome to this section on investing and portfolio management, which is kind of tailored for international students. I'm sure some of you might know me. My name is Ayodeji Oluwalana. I'm a licensed financial professional, and I'm licensed in 9 states, and with experts in guiding young professionals on their investment journey. I've been here for quite a while. I came in as an international student, and I just want to share some few things with you. So in this session, I'll quickly cover some foundational concepts and practical strategies to help you navigate the world of investing, confidently in this country. So I call this Investing Basics 101. Nothing is ever too late. So you want to ask, what is investing? Investing is the act of distributing resources into something to generate income or gain profit, right? We all want to make profit. In fact, it's the act of allocating resources effectively. Investing is the process of putting your money to work to achieve your financial goals. Everybody wants to make money. We want to make sure that we are financially stable. We all came from Africa to this great country to be able to be financially stable and also possibly, support other people back home. So I think it's important for us to really understand what investing means in this country, especially as international students. Instead of letting your money sit idle in your checking account, in your savings account, I know majority of us have checking account and savings account where they pay in our stipend. But investment can grow your money over time through number one, interest, through dividends, or through capital appreciation. Over time, inflation erodes the purchasing power of cash sitting in that your account. We all know what's going on in the country at the moment. Inflation, there's, talks about inflation and also the global economy going into recession. So you want to really, really, understand, how best for you to invest your money. Let's take, for example, at 3% inflation, it's a little bit over now, but let's just put it at 3% inflation. You have another $100 bill that you actually put in your account last year. This year, considering the inflation rate, that purchasing power of that money is just only worth $97. And that's the amount it can get you in groceries today. So that's how it's possible to save money in your checking and your savings account and lose money. I know your spending power due to inflation keeps eroding, at the same time. So the major purpose of investing is to generate a return from the invested assets. And don't forget, it requires a sacrifice, on your part, of some present asset, what you have in your hands right now, such as, maybe your time, you're talking about money and also some efforts. And we're going to see in the next couple of slides. So I think it's also, important to really explain some terms when it comes to investing. Before I go forward, I would like to really, really drill down on some terminologies. So let's talk about investment. Investment is the commitment of buying on or ever more than one asset that is old for a period of time. So it's a commitment in essence of buying on and even more than one asset, that is old for a period of time. You buy something for a period of time, for at the time, and you hold it for a period of time to let it appreciate. That is, in layman's language, that's what we call investment. Talking about active investment strategy, this is a strategy that seeks changes in proportions assets with a belief that, it will grow over time. That's what we call active, investment strategy. It's a strategy you put in place or you deploy that seeks changes in proportions assets. And with time, you think is, you strongly believe it's going to grow. Also talking about passive investment, it's a strategy that determines the investment and makes changes over time. It's that kind of strategy that determines the investment that you put your resources into, and you kind of like watches what happens to it and change, make those changes over time. Also, talking about indirect investment. This is the buying and selling of investments, in companies, in form of shares, which in returns usually gives us securities. And many of us, some of us maybe back home, we have some indirect investing when you buy shares in a company with the hope that you get some securities in return. So I just feel like it's important for us to really explain those terminologies so that we're all on the same page. So you may want to ask, why do I need to invest? Why do I need to invest? Like I said earlier on, majority of us came into this country for greener pastures, for the American dream. But also we need to really understand, why do we really need to invest? Number one reason is your retirement. If your long-term goal is to remain in this country for a long time, then you need to start thinking about retirement. Investing in long-term absolutely gives you financial security in return when you retire. The time to start thinking about retirement is now. That's one of the mistakes I made earlier on. I'm glad I quickly corrected it. I never thought about retirement when I stepped into this country. It's like, oh, I still have time and all that. But a few years ago, I decided like, no, I'm not getting any younger. I need to start thinking about retirement. What kind of investment should I be taking, putting my funds into so that I can actually have a comfortable retirement. Another, reason why you should invest, you need to invest is in large purchases. An example of large purchases, that comes to mind absolutely is buying a house, right? So investing gives you the purchasing power opportunities to acquire properties. One of the ways that you can quickly build wealth in this country is, through property acquisition. It could be a house, it could be a business like a gas station, it could be a franchise like in a restaurant and all that, So if you start thinking about all of these, knowing fully well that your goal is to be able to acquire these large purchases, then you need to start investing right now. And the third, reason why you should invest is in education. You all came here either for a master's degree or a PhD. Some of us after PhD maybe will still want to do some professional development that probably will require a lot of funding. So it's also a good way for us to invest. Education is a good way to invest for our development and help us also advance our careers. So now that you've understood why you need to invest, then how do you start investing? So like I mentioned, all those three areas, in terms of retirement, you need to start saving early and clearly understand your retirement options. Usually people rely on their 401ks, and this is the 401k that whenever you get a job, that's one of the benefits they will offer to you, in terms of your pension, as we call it back home. But considering the recent developments with the future of the Social Security Administration, that's the money they will start taking out of your paycheck when you transition from your F1 status to a work visa. That's, you're saving it for your retirement. But considering the recent development with the future of Social Security, you might need to start rethinking what are your best retirement options. And also considering inflation, and taxation, you might really need to understand the options and start planning before it is too late. So also I talked about large purchases. If you're interested in buying the business or buying a house, I would strongly, if that's your long-term goal, I think, the time to start right now, no matter how little, to start putting, in a separate account, in a separate portfolio, some funds and set up a timeline. Maybe in the next 5 years, this is what you want to have saved up to be able to, maybe afford a down payment to buy your own house or buy a business and all that. This is very, very important. This is an information nobody ever told me, but since I became a, licensed financial professional, these are things that I've been, I've delved into, in terms of continuing to build on that, something that I've actually made it at a point as a point of duty for myself as well and my family. And lastly, for education, like I said, put money into eligible savings, bonds, or portfolios that compound your funds. You don't want to put your money in a portfolio where you lose money, you don't gain money, or you put your money in a portfolio where it's only simple interest. I'm sure you will still remember the simple interest and the compound interest. So compound interest is where your money compounds, doubles the amount you put in there based on, the terms and conditions of that portfolio. So I think this is very important for me to also mention. I mentioned earlier that, the word inflation. I think it's important to let you know what this means. Inflation is a situation where there are not enough products or services being held to keep up with demand, thereby, resulting into price increase. It's happening right now. We're in a very interesting times in the US and even globally. And I think it's very important for me to bring this up. There are different types of inflation. We have demand pull inflation, we have cost push inflation, and we have built-in inflation. But because of I don't want to make this video too long. I would strongly encourage you to look into these three types of inflation so that you are well informed. Because once you are well informed, you'll be able to make the right investment decisions, for yourself. Also, you may want to ask, what should I invest in? And my answer will be, it just depends on your investment strategy. You can choose to invest in individual stocks or other investment vehicles, such as the ETFs, what we call the exchange traded funds, that provides exposure to the stock market and diversification. One of the most common ways to start investing in stock, if I want to emphasize this, is to buy a mutual fund. And a mutual fund is a type of investment that pulls money from many investors, right? And invest it in a group of different stocks. You can consider it as an egg in many baskets, kind of approach. An example, potentially could include, stocks, buying ownership, in a company, which represent a share of your ownership in that company. So when you purchase a stock, you become a shareholder, right? And own a small piece of that company. The value of stock can fluctuate based on the company's performance, the market conditions, and investor sentiment. Stocks, as they are practically known, for their potential to offer higher returns over time, but also comes with higher risk compared to other investment types. And we see that, happening right now, with the stocks going up and down with the tariffs and all that. So it's also, like I said, all of this depends on your investment strategy. Another, thing to invest in potentially could be bonds, lending money to an organization in exchange for interest payment. Bonds are typically kind of a form of debt investment where you lend money to an entity such as a government or corporation, right? So in exchange for periodic interest payments and the return of the bond's face value upon maturity. Bonds essentially are considered less risky than stocks because they offer fixed income and have a predictable repayment schedule. For example, US Treasury bonds are highly secure, while corporate bonds might offer higher returns but carry more risk depending on the company's creditworthiness. Another one is mutual funds. They are typically pooled investments managed by professionals. Mutual funds are investment vehicles that pools money, for multiple investors, right? To purchase a diversified portfolio of stock, bonds, or other securities. These funds are managed by professional fund managers who aims to achieve specific investment objectives. So working with a professional fund manager, they will be the one to guide you on the type of mutual funds to buy. And for example, equity mutual fund may focus on high growth stocks, while a bond mutual funds might prioritize steady income. So again, it also boils down to your investment strategy. Mutual funds are ideal for investors who want diversification without actively managing individual securities. But they often comes with management fees, obviously, and expense ratios that can impact, overall in terms of what you earn or capital gain, as they call it. What's nice about mutual fund that I really love is that in a single transaction, investors can actually, or they're able to purchase a neatly packaged collection of investments. I talked about the exchange traded funds, the ETFs, and they are the building blocks of any investment strategy. They are investment funds that operate similarly to they're very similar to mutual funds. And what they do is that they pool money to invest in a diversified basket of assets, such as stocks, bonds, or commodities. However, unlike the mutual funds, ETFs are traded on stock exchange, allowing investors to buy and sell shares throughout the trading day at market price. For example, an S&P 500 ETF tracks the performance of a S&P 500 index, usually of offering exposure to 500 of the largest companies in the US. ETFs often have lower expense ratios compared to mutual funds and provides flexible, arrangement, or you can say flexible plan, due to their stock-like trading features. So again, these are the building blocks of any investment strategy in the US, and you just have to determine, the best option for you based on your, number one, your risk tolerance, your financial goals, and your financial plans. Talking about investment platform for international students, there are different platforms all around, but these are the three that I will recommend: Robinhood, Fidelity, and Interactive Brokers. But remember, they are just, like I said, there are many more, around that you can explore. So now let's talk about how to build a diversified portfolio. Trust me, I'm a big fan of diversification. And diversification is a technique that reduces risk by moving investment by various financial categories, aim to minimize losses by investing in different areas that would each react differently to the same, to the market. We see all what is going on now with the market, with the stock market. So, this is the time where diversification makes a lot of sense. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So diversification is very, very important in, your ability to build wealth in this country. It's also a very key and very strategic to the management of risk with all of this, portfolios, because it kind of lets investors lower, its risk. Considering the new tariffs and potential global recession, as a result, investment diversification is a long-term strategy. I can't, overemphasize this. Investment diversification is a long-term strategy that may help reduce risk from market volatility. The largest benefit of a diverse portfolio is that it can practically help minimize risk from market instability and volatility. A diverse portfolio should include a mix of asset classes, diversification within asset classes, and adding foreign assets to your investment strategy. And again, these are just, a few examples of how you can actually do, diversify your portfolio. If you talk to a professional, we might be able to guide you on how best to, work around the volatility in the market right now. So working with a financial professional can help you avoid diversification pitfalls, such as lowering your risk and over diversification, and not taking, correlation into account. It's very, very important. So now, how do you build a diversified portfolio? Diversify, number one, across asset classes, like I mentioned earlier on. Having a mixture of equities, that is stocks, and fixed income investment, that is bonds, cash and cash equivalent, and real assets, including property, can help you maintain a well-balanced portfolio. Generally, it is wise to include at least two different asset classes if you want a robust, I should emphasize, a robust, diversified portfolio. Another way on how you can build a diversified portfolio is to diversify within asset classes. There are a few key ways to diversify within each asset classes, including, by industry. Using example above about energy stocks, right? That I mentioned. If that field is something you would like to invest in, so you can invest in a diversification portfolio based on industry. You can invest in energy, you can invest in IT, you can invest in technology, in AI. So there are different ways you can go about this. So it's very, very important to have an idea of how all of these things work. And again, this video might not do justice to it completely, but it just kind of gives you what you should be thinking about when you're talking about building financial wealth in this country, and how you can actually start investing effectively. Industries such as technology, healthcare, and utilities are potential good portfolios to invest in. You can also diversify your fixed income investment by seeking out bonds with different maturities and from different issuers. So it's also very important for you to seek out bonds with different maturity timelines, and obviously from different insurers. Another way is to invest globally. Consider global exposure when building your portfolio. And the reason why is it helps you safeguard against country-specific risk. Foreign assets like stocks and bonds for companies in other countries can help you create a more robust or well-rounded portfolios. Helps with it kind of increases the buoyancy of your diverse portfolio. And in terms of uncertainty in one country, other portfolios that you have might actually help continue to grow your money. It's also very important to perform a regular portfolio review. In every given year, certain investment will gain value while others will decrease. We see what's happening with Apple stocks and Nvidia, Microsoft, all those companies. You should rebalance your portfolio. Very, very important. You should rebalance your portfolio regularly to ensure that you are staying the course amidst inevitable market highs and lows as we experience right now. And certain situations like major life events will trigger the need to rebalance too, depending on what's going on in your life. You might want to move things around a little bit. And that's why having platforms where you can actually do that, maybe on your mobile phone, is very, very helpful. And that's why I provided those platforms earlier in the slides to help you really, really stay on top of things for your portfolio. Now let's look at an example of a simple portfolio. And I broke it down into what we've talked about. 50% in a low-cost ETF tracking the S&P 500. For example, the SPDR, which is the Standard & Poor's Depository Receipts, S&P 500 ETF, gives exposure to large U.S. companies like Apple, Microsoft. 30% in international equity ETFs, for instance, the iShares MSCI Emerging Market ETFs provides access to companies in growing economies like China and India. And 20% in bond ETF for stability, right? The iShares Core US Aggregate Bonds ETF is an excellent, fantastic choice for stable fixed income return. So again, I strongly advise that you adjust this proportion based on your goals and risk tolerance, excuse me, as you go. A younger investor might increase equity exposure, while someone risk adverse may, prefer more bonds. So it just depends on, your preference, your age, your financial goals, strategies, and all that. So as I begin to wrap up, here are some, important investing facts. Only 33% of people get to outperform the market. That's something that we've seen and we'll continue to see. Only 33% of people get to outperform, the market. Historically, the stock gets a return of 11% and 5% points, but these are so, there are so many uncertainties right now that these numbers might not even be true anymore with what's going on. Let me emphasize that passive investing is the most used type of investing that I've seen people. People are very passive about it. They just want to, especially for someone that's just starting or someone that is looking into, you know, getting things situated in terms of their finances and, building a financial future for themselves. You want to test the water. You don't want to go aggressively. It's passive investment is the most ideal for beginner investors. So if you're just starting, you don't want to start big. And again, it's something that you should just look at those passive investment opportunities, like I have elucidated in this session. And I think with that, you should be able to start building upon that over time, and you see the return of your investment. So, here is my contact information. If you would like to reach out to me, that'll be fantastic. That's my phone number, that's my email. If you see me around, feel free to stop me. But again, I just wanted to provide some context into what you should start thinking about as international student when it comes to investment. And I will see you around and also in the next video. Thank you.